Yeah. Happy 2026. After a few years of thinking about doing this, I've finally decided to start recording some YouTube content for DFS, Draft Stars in particular. Um, Going to keep it nice and short today, just get one under the belt. So we're going to start with a little review of the main NFL slate from last week. Uh, then we'll review last night's Big Bash, preview a couple of today's Big Bash games and the test match later this week. And we'll maybe have a look at a bit of my 2025 results after that and what I'm trying to take away from that to move into 26. Bear with me while I try and work out how to record a video, but um, one way to learn. So let's get into it. Get rid of the mum's basement joke for a start. All right, so straight into this NFL slate the from Monday morning's action. It's a little bit braggy as I did win the slate, also seventh, 11th, a few other spots. So I maxed in it as I've been doing for a few weeks in the NFL. 50 lineups this week is what we're allowed, and I actually didn't cash that many of them. Cashed 8 of 50 lineups. I was pretty heavy on Jaguars stacks, which you can see Trevor Lawrence did okay, but I don't think um, the stack went off too well. Lawrence, Parker Washington, pretty good. No one else really did much. Jonathan Taylor, but he was expensive. So those are my heaviest stacks. They didn't come off. But before I talk about that too much, I should talk about I've been on a bit of a heater with NFL this year, so I actually didn't play that much for the first half of the season. Uh, Reason being, if I show you over here, this is my 2024 Draft Stars results. As much of them as I can get in history at the moment, anyway. I think starting in May. So the NFL season, I was playing a fair bit. I was trying to use a combination of my own projections and industry projections, and that just wasn't going very well. I don't have my finger on the pulse of the NFL. I don't. Um, I just don't know the game inside out, and it's a complicated game with usage and everything, and it's really, really hard to do your own projections. So that wasn't working, and I lost almost $5,000 for the season, negative 13% ROI. So coming into the start of this year, I just wasn't playing a great deal. Um, it's just playing a handful of lineups. And at some point, I realized so I pay for the solver. That's the, the Cruncher software that I use instead of the free Fantasy Insider software. And at some point, I realized that I was getting access to the established run projections as part of my subscription to the solver. So I thought, all right, I'll have a go at building some lineups just using their projections. And it's been kind of a crazy heater since then. So here's their projections. They're all down to the decimal point. I use their suggested variance, which is quite high. And I build my lineups that way. And I just focus on stacking and I focus on mini stacks and all the things that you need to focus on in NFL to be successful. And so let's have a look how that's been going this year. NFL this year, I've turned over only 16,000, which is less than half of what I did last year, and almost $12,000 profit, 73%, which is just crazy. Like I've won maybe five at the main slates, four, five, six, in like a 10-week period. And some of those weeks I was like first, second, third, first, second, fifth, stuff like that. Not repeatable at all, but certainly much better results than I was getting um, back when I was trying to do my own projections. And so this week, like I said, I had a lot of Jaguars projections come through with the established run numbers. And actually, I can go back and look at it here. Week 17, Draft Stars. It's a 9-game slate, 50 lineups. So yeah, 42% Trevor Lawrence lineups, 20% Drake May. It's pretty. There's only 9 games, but pretty tight. 8 quarterbacks I used. Again, I had Travis Etienne. I think he went pretty well this week. But yeah, a lot of not so great plays in there. A lot of Jamar Chase, Jacoby Myers again with the Jag stuff. Jags. I was very heavy on Tyler Warren, which is interesting with Philip Rivers, but that's just a bring back to all the Jag stacks. So pretty much all my stacks are double stack with the quarterback, at least one, maybe two bringbacks. Sometimes I'm triple stacking with the quarterback, like you can see here. ATN, Myers, Washington with Lawrence, double bringback, Pittman, Warren. Yeah. And then sometimes I'm doing mini stacks as well, like Sampson and Gainwell in the same game, Carter and Chase in the same game, stuck in the defense with a running back, Tracy and the Giants, Patriots and Ramondre. Lots of different little ways to stack it. And so, yeah, my winning lineup, I've gone Patriots stack, Drake May, Stephon Diggs, Hunter Henry, triple stack with Ramondre Stevenson, double bring back, Brees Hall, Adonai Mitchell. So obviously Drake May went off, 5 passing touchdowns, probably the MVP this season. That's been impressive. Ramondre Stevenson went off. I'm not actually sure if Travion Henderson ended up playing in this game or not. He did. So, yeah, Travion was coming back from concussion. Ramondre, I guess he played as the starting running back, the workhorse, but he's obviously just run really hot as well against the terrible defense in the Jets. Brees Hall was my first bring back. He actually hit a long touchdown run late in the game. He had hardly any points and suddenly jumped up with a sort of like a 16-point play or something. Hit his 100-yard rushing bonus in that play as well, so it might have been worth 18 points, 17, 18 points. That was crucial in winning. Diggs, really nice game from him. Just hit the 100-yard bonus. Hunter Henry, that's solid for a tight end. Tight end scoring in this slate, nothing went too crazy. There's plenty of values, but no one got too out of hand. So Henry's 14 points was fine. Chase Brown, he was the just behind Drake May, highest scorer on the slate. He's had a really hot finish to the season with Joe Burrow back. Uh, Playing the Cardinals, another terrible defense, and just another player just hit his rushing bonus. So this could have gone very differently if a few of those guys had a couple less yards and missed their bonus. And then Giants defense, I mean, that went really well. I don't even know what happened there. Kick return touchdown. Yeah, really nice game from the Giants. They blew out the Raiders, who were tanking for the number one pick. And it's kind of weird to stack a wide receiver with your defense. I had Wandale Robinson here. He's just had a kind of a crazy season. He's just kept getting volume. Neighbours got injured early in the season. Jackson Dart's been kind of a revelation, more of a running than a passing revelation, but pretty good stuff. And so, yeah, that's how that lineup won the slate anyway. And this has happened quite often in the slates that I have won, that I've had one player from the stack. In this case, Adonai Mitchell did nothing, or not the sort of score that you think's going to help you win a slate. And that's happened quite often. So I've got one, two, three, four, five, six players from that game. Probably four, five of them have gone off. Um, and well, four of them have gone off, and Henry's been okay. Adonai's failed, and that's almost every time I've won. That's what's happened. So that's one of the reasons stacking is really powerful in the NFL, because you don't need to capture all of it. If you pick the game that goes off in points, and this was 42-10, Patriots Jets. There wasn't many other high scoring games. Bengals, obviously, Chase Brown was the one you wanted out of that. The Saints Titans game was pretty good. Olave, we saw a Conquo there before. Jaguars Colts failed. That game was nothing. Giants had, yeah, obviously the defense did some of the work in the Giants game. There wasn't much of a bring back with the Raiders. And Eagles Bills was a flop. So if you find the high scoring game in your stack, which is what's happened here with the Patriots Jets game, you can capture a lot of points in your five or six players from that game without every player hitting, and that can still be enough to win the slate, especially if the chalk doesn't hit. Yeah, so my second best lineup, somehow Charbonnet sneaks in there. Has a massive upswing week with a couple of touchdowns, 100 yards. It's been a really weird season between him and Kenneth Walker, sort of splitting the workload. Um, Nothing else that interesting in that lineup. Chase was pretty good, but some flops. Kyle Williams was another flop from that Patriots Jets game. What's his third one? That's going to be the stack of the same game. So you only need one to get to the top, and I think I was a bit lucky in this one. So let's have a look at the chalk. Uh, because I'm using an industry projection established run, I often, my exposures that we saw over here end up being quite similar to the field. So I'm really relying on the heavily stacked lineups for my edge instead of anything to do with my exposures. And so, yeah, Chase, yeah, I had all similar players, but this was a slate where the chalk wasn't amazing. Um, Chase was fine. You could have won with him probably. Myers failed. Carter failed. Henry's fine at tight end. He failed. Diggs pretty good. He's gotten pretty cheap. Really weird season for Diggs. Coming off his ACL last year and on a new team. Patriots kind of failed. ETN. No, that must have been last week. He had the big score I mentioned earlier, so he failed. Ramondre hits. Fail. Decent. So the chalk wasn't that good. yeah, a lot of the highest scorers are relatively low owned. Surprised Olave was 12% after hitting 2 strong weeks in a row, but obviously the price has shot up a bit. And yeah, if you go through the positions, same kind of thing. Like the quarterback chalk was fine. So if you had the right stack out of those games, which turned out to be Patriot stack, um, running back chalk was terrible. Stevenson was the only one that hit. I guess Chase Brown's like, well, he's not chalky, but he's not. He's in the middle there. So it wasn't impossible to find the two top running back plays. Charbonnet and Brees Hall were unique pivots off some of these ETNs and Carter, Genty, etc. Yeah, again, chalk's not too bad there. Chase and Diggs, but and Parker Washington. I'm really surprised that Jag stack didn't work with Lawrence and Washington both going off again as they have been week after week. Wilson again, he's been ridiculous. Larve, Wandale. Brandon Cooks, oh my God. Had no idea Godwin had a good game. Wide receivers always pretty wild. Players don't need to be on the field much to have a big game, just catch a couple of big bombs. And there you go. Hunter Henry was big time chalk at tight end. Yeah, tight end. No one separated too much this week. Trey McBride, that's not even a great score for his price. So, and the defense, well, yeah, two very chalky defenses. Neither of them did much, and there was no, well, yeah, the Giants separated. So I was lucky to end up with the Giants in that lineup. It's difference making, although second place also had the Giants. But there's my gap to third place. So you always need a bit of luck with your defense. So there you go. There's a look at that NFL slate. Now I'm going to go over and look at last night's Big Bash quickly. Similar thing with the Big Bash. If I go back, 2024, negative almost $2,000 on $45,000 of volume. And then 2025, yeah, negative 5 grand and 30 grand of volume, negative 18%. So Big Bash hasn't been going well, and I've basically at this point decided I'm not multi-entering anymore. I'm not even sure why. I spend a lot of time, if I come over here, here, oh, how do I do this? So here's my projection sheet for the Big Bash, and I have one of these for most of the Aussie sports that I play. Um, and I work pretty hard on this. I've got all the previous scores that players have had. Um, Lately, I've started adding notes for every game so that I can have a look and go back and have a look at what role they were playing. Bit of injury stuff. Um, Keep notes here on anything, any role changes, just anything that I think is relevant for coming up with a projection. Some of those are probably pretty out of date. I don't always keep them up to date, but then over here I have season by season averages, or it's the average going back to the start of that season. So I'm increasingly getting a bigger sample size as I go back, got their all-time average and how many games are in that sample. So I do this for all the games. It's not like an amazing data science kind of process. I just eyeball those numbers, have a look at what they've done recently, come up with a number that I like for each player, and then I feed that through the solver, optimize, and that works well for NRL, for AFL. Um, but yeah, for whatever reason, even some cricket, women's, especially women's cricket, I've got enough of an edge there. But for the Big Bash, obviously, it's not working because I'm losing thousands of dollars. So I've stopped doing that, and I still do the projections. I still optimize, and then I just kind of pick my favorite lineup, maybe make a couple of adjustments, and just enter one lineup just to keep a bit of interest without giving away money, basically. All right, so let's have a look at last night's contest, New Year's Eve game. The game was a bit of a dud. I only entered, so like I said, I've been doing one lineup, entering in a bunch of cash stuff, but I did two last night. Yeah, this one was my cash lineup. Um, Overton and Short, pretty obvious. They're two of the best scorers in the Big Bash. Harvey's batting three. Um, Very cheap. Balkan and Patterson, two very cheap young heat bowlers that look like they have some talent. San Ali, skillful Pakistani quick, and then obviously Wildermuth has been incredible this season, opening the batting and bowling four overs and killing it at both. So it's very one, two, three, four cheap guys so that I can fit in three of the most expensive guys for that cash lineup. Didn't really come off, and the reason for that is because Chris Lynn went nuts. My original cash lineup actually had Lynn in there, but I can't remember what the change was. Someone dropped out. Um, who was it? Yeah, with me. Not sure. Anyway, made a change, took Lynn out, and that backfired. So winning lineup, um, pretty interesting. The winning lineup has four Heat players in there in a game where the Heat got spanked. So the lineup's kind of built on obviously Lynn and Overton both went off. Captured a lot of the strikers' bowling points through Overton and Scott, two all-rounders who both had great figures. They got the full economy rate bonus, 3 wickets for Overton and a couple of catches, and 2 wickets for Scott. And then Kuhneman scored almost all his points with the bat, which is crazy. He's never done that before. I think he just got a catch, didn't get any bowling points. Similar thing with Bartlett, scored 33 points with the bat, took 1 wicket. Pearson did nothing, batting seven. His role, even though he's had a couple of good innings this year, his role just isn't there like it has been in the past when he's opened. Young Weebgen, however we're going to say that. Yeah, bad strike rate, took a catch. 40 points was enough somehow for him in the end. So really, Lynn, Overton, Scott, what that lineup is built on. Like if you combine those three together, there's a few lineups that have the three of them. So still had to overcome all these other lineups, but um, yeah, not many other high scoring players on the slate. It was only Luke Wood and had enough of these Kuhneman Bartletts to get the winning lineup. And interesting thing, if you have a look at this, the top two, the most expensive players were the top two owned players, and they both failed. So building a lineup without those two is a huge advantage straight away. And then the winning lineup doesn't have Balkan, doesn't have Ali, doesn't have Menenti, doesn't have Renshaw, doesn't have Patterson. So the eighth most popular player before you come to someone that's in that lineup. And it's got the two least owned players. Yeah, so that's interesting. Like, there's obviously a lot of variance in the Big Bash. It's pretty random sometimes what kind of lineup you need to build to win. But in all DFS, it's often not a bad strategy to figure out who the most owned player is going to be and not use them. Um, yeah, if you can find a few chalky players you want to cut out of your player pool, that can be one way to get a big advantage. And when they do fail, you rise above almost all of the lineups, which is pretty handy. So well done there to Arishap. Yeah, and then a couple more slates this afternoon to have a quick look at. I haven't looked at the squads. I'm not really across the news, so I'm just going to base this on who has been playing so far. Stilk's only been back for a few games. He hasn't done anything yet. He's definitely very cheap for what he's done in the past. Hassan Khan has a bit of a role. He bowls a bit, 2-1-3, about 2 overs a game, gets a bit of a bat. So he's fine at that price. Peak looks, he's looked good so far at his price. He's had one massive score, but he looks like a very good young player. Probably won't be around the Big Bash for long. I'd say he's going to end up in the Aussie team pretty quick. A bit sloppy around this middle section, a bunch of bats who aren't very trustworthy. We know Josh Brown has a massive ceiling, but his 4 games are often. Hughes is old. He's just come off. Maybe he'll be a bit chalky because of that. Probably prefer to back him to fail. Davies has been great last 2 games, and he's, yeah, got the 4 overs in both of them. I wonder if we can see why that's happened. Come across to the Sixers and Chohan's been out, and Murphy, that was only for the most recent game. Hmm. Anyway, he's been given a role for the last 2 games and he's made the absolute most of it. So that's a good sign that he's going to continue to be a good player moving forward, and he's still pretty cheap. Very hard to. I like Rizwan. That's one player that stands out for me. He's quite cheap compared to what he does at international level and just hasn't come off yet. So maybe he won't be too popular on today's slate. Someone like Seifert's going to be more popular. Even Babar, I guess, would be. I'm not sure. He probably won't be popular with Philippi there, who's been going great. I'm not that interested in Babar. I'd much prefer Rizwan, who is cheaper and a very similar level of batsman, an international level at least. And yeah, I like Sutherland a lot. Actually, in this game, it's home game for the Renegades. It's at Marvel. I actually had no idea if he tends to be better there or not, but makes sense. It's a slow deck. He bowls into the wicket. He's a big hitter. Um, Fields well, so I feel like he could be a little under-owned. I think that's a decent price for him. Looking at the bowlers, who knows who's going to play out of these cheap guys, but Sandhu, nice and cheap for him. I wouldn't touch Menenti. He barely gets a roll anymore. Doesn't bowl very often. 1 over. That's low. Yeah, he's pretty average. I think Johan's a good bowler if he plays. I would like him at that price. Fergus O'Neill hasn't done anything yet this year, but he's got pretty good numbers in previous seasons. Yeah, he's still got a 42 draft stars average, so He's good at that price. Kane Richardson, yeah, he's fine, but he's not what he used to be. Probably prefer to go for one of these cheaper bowlers, depending on who's playing. This is an interesting little three bowlers bracketed together in price. Abbott, a bit older, returning from injury. Didn't look too bad actually last game, looked pretty good. Definitely prefer him to Ty, who's even older. He's almost 40, and I feel like he should be a little bit cheaper than that. And Dwarshuis hasn't exploded yet this season after stringing together a handful of great seasons in the Big Bash. He's sort of a low 50s average player. So is Abbott. So uh, out of those three, I'm going to play Dwarshuis first, then Abbott, then Ty. But hopefully not Ty. Zampa's interesting, just had a massive game. He has done stuff all in the Big Bash for years now. Um, I'm probably going to lean into that and say don't play him off a big game. Let other people play him. Behrendorff is the opposite. He's been great for years, even though he's on a new team. With the Renegades, different pitch and all that kind of gear, he is a gun and he's due for a big game on his new team. So I would back that in. So if I was building a lineup just by eye here, I mean, I'm interested in Silk, but he bats kind of low. I'm not going to put him in first. I'll come back to the cheaper players. I know I want Rizwan. I know it's not a batting pitch, but he's a quality player and I want to be on him when he comes off. I really want Sutherland. Edwards, oh, he's got a really nice bowling role. He's bowling really well. I'll come back and see if I can afford him. Not sure who's going to play out of these cheaper bowlers, but I think Sandhu, um, Gan, Chohan, and O'Neill I'm interested in, but they didn't play the most recent games. So I'll just plug in Hassan Khan for now. And I think Dwarshuis is the next guy I really want. I'll take Khan out actually. I want Dor. 12,050 left to play with. Can get me a Hassan Khan, and then I can afford. Oh, got a lot of Renegades in that lineup already. Four Renegades bowlers. Three guys who should get a bat. Just got the one sixes bowler. Do I want a sixes bat or do I want to back Joel Davies to be involved in the game again? I'll have to go with Davies. I love playing a lot of all rounders in Big Bash Fantasy. So there you go. That's the kind of lineup I'm looking at for that one. We'll jump over to the other game. Hurricane Scorchers. Might go team by team for this one. Try and get through it a bit quicker. Tim Ward opening the batting. I don't think T20 is his form of the game, so not too excited about him, even at that cheap price. Don't think Wright played the game just gone, did he? No, he didn't. So Wadey's looking all right. Tim David being out kind of gives him a bit more of a role. He had been batting down at 7 or 8, but he's kind of the designated hitter late in the innings now. So I'm definitely interested in Wadey. McDermott's still way too cheap for a bloke who can hit 100 every now and then. Mitch Owen yet to get going this season after one of the all-time great seasons last year. Um, he's a freak. I'm going to almost definitely play him. Slug didn't even bowl in his first game of the season. He batted 3. Yeah, if he's not bowling, I don't love that price for him. And Chowdhury, it's been all batting for him this year. He has not bowled one over yet, and he is quite a handy bowler. Mostly been batting opening or 3. Last game he went back down to 5, and that's if he's at 5 again, that's probably going to be enough for me not to touch him. The way the team's set up, he is about the 7th or 8th choice bowler, it seems. So not too interested in him. Rian Ahmed, I don't understand how he keeps being so cheap, to be honest. Like, yes, he's only given us one score, but he's floating around the kind of middle order. He's bowling. He didn't bowl much to start the season, 1 over, 2 over, but 4-2-3. He's got enough of a bowling role. He's a good cricketer. So definitely like Rian. Shard is saying he does really well for Bangladesh. I think it's no fluke that he's put some scores together. They're going to keep coming. I think he's too cheap. Also, Chris Jordan with that massive score pumps his average up, but that's about the right price for Chris Jordan at his age. Not too excited about that. Same with Meredith. Ellis, for yeah, he's a good bowler, but he's not an elite fantasy player. He doesn't bat, doesn't do a heap in the field, often misses out on the economy because of his bowling in the difficult overs. So he just needs to take a bag of wickets, which he could easily do. But yeah, price is not amazing again. And then we jump over to the Scorchers. Don't really want to play Hobson if he comes in at 7 most of the time. Turner, he's been too cheap all season and he just proved it with 99 not out. Yeah, I definitely like him. Evans is such a good player, but he's batting at 6 and he's behind a good top order, so he often barely gets any opportunity. Agar's really interesting. Incredibly bad so far. Um, hasn't got a full whack of overs yet. Not getting as much of a bat as he has in the past. So he's really cheap for what he normally does, but yeah, maybe not cheap enough for what his role is right now. And Marsha's same deal. He's opening batting, doesn't bowl anymore, but that was never a huge part of his scoring in the BBL. He should be sort of like a 50 average player, I reckon, in any sort of decent form opening the batting, but is that going to come anytime soon? That's definitely a leverage play. If people are giving up on him, you can play him. Hardy, with Inglis back in the team and Connolly flying, he dropped down to number 6 in the last game, and then he proceeded to take, what did he take? 2 for 12 off his 2 overs. Handy little cameo with the bat. So he can still get it done at number 6, but that's pretty, well, it's a decent price, but it's not like he's got a full bowling role like someone like Jack Edwards or Will Sutherland, etc. So I don't know if I'm too keen on that price for him. Inglis is fine. Chopping and changing between formats is one concern for him, but I like him. And Finn Allen, massive upside for him. Really, really good player. And obviously Connolly is taking it to Matt Short for the best player in the Big Bash right now, certainly from a fantasy perspective. Really good bat at 3, and then if he doesn't come off there, he still might jag a couple wickets. And anyone else to look at? Oh, I'm not a fan of Joel Paris. Try not to play him. Couch has a pretty poor record in the Big Bash. He's on a new team this year, and that first game where he scored 52. Yeah, was promising, but I don't think he's an amazing player. I'd much rather play Marley Beardman, who is an out and out gun, I think, or he will be when he gets a bit of experience under his belt. So going through and building a lineup for that one, what are we looking at? We've got not that interested in Ward, pretty interested in Wade or Turner. Where is this game? This game is at Bellerive. Going to go with Wadey to start with, and McDermott. I'll think about Marsh. Oh, I want Owen. All right, I'm getting off Wade. I'll go Turner. I'll think about coming back to Marsh. Definitely want Beardman. Definitely want Rian. Pretty interested in Rashad. Oh, and that does not quite get me to Connolly. How do I get to Connolly? Need to save 900. Might have to go back to Matty Wade. Get rid of Turner. Back to Hurricanes to win this one. Or I can go Richard down. I think I'll have to drop down to Wade. I'll fade Turner, who just went off in the last game. So did Wade, but that massive score, maybe people are on Turner. Back him to fail. For this one to come off, I'd sort of want Hurricanes to bat first, rack up a big score with those three players heavily involved. Maybe wickets for those from my Scorchers players, and then I'd want Hurricanes to bowl the Scorchers out pretty cheap. All the different bowlers I've got there chipping in. Connolly is the only batsman to score runs. That would be how the game would go for that lineup to win. And that's all I'm going to do today. I was going to take a look at the test match, but I might have a look at doing that on the weekend when we get a bit closer to the game. Preview that, preview a bit of NFL stuff. Yeah, there was one more thing I was interested in doing today's video, and that was taking a look at this quickly, which is my entire 2025 results. It's a good year. It's the second best year I've had on Draftstars. You can see I was strong in the AFL, 23,000. I had a nice cricket number there with the international ODI, which was mostly based on the Women's World Cup. Went really well during that. We've gone over. NFL was really good. NRL is my bread and butter. That's pretty standard NRL season for me. Actually finished quite badly the last couple of months in the NRL, so hopefully a bit of room for growth there. State of Origin, I guess, is included in that. And then the weaknesses, as I've gone over, the Big Bash, Women's Big Bash wasn't good this year, so I'll probably look at just playing single lineups in that next year as well. And yeah, you can see over on the right hand side here, I've done really well in the normal $15 contests for all of those top sports: AFL, NRL, NFL, Origin. Not bad. Like PGA Tour, it's not a huge amount of money, but it's enough for the little bit of effort that goes into it. Same with the Euro Tour. Plenty of good results at the top there. And then if we come down the bottom, these are the areas I'm looking to cut out completely next year, or maybe find a different approach to. AFL High Roller. Had way too many goes at that last year. $14,000. Losing at a 40% clip before I gave up on that. Uh, Big Bash High Roller, that's from last summer. I haven't been playing this summer, but terrible. Nearly 60% losses in that. Uh, Big Bash and Women's Big Bash, $15 comp, nearly 4 grand down the toilet there. AFL $20, what's that? Oh, that's the star qualifier. I think, is it? Maybe not. Oh no, that would be from the grand final, $20 contest. I never do well in the grand final. Maybe I should stop playing that, but maybe one year it'll come good also. I also did poorly in the NRL and the PGA Tour high rollers, which in the past I've done well in. So they're small sample sizes, though. They didn't run many of those this year. So yeah, basically I'm looking to cut out high roller and max entry in the Big Bash. Those are the kind of four areas where I can save $10,000, $15,000 next year if everything else goes the same. And that kind of contest selection is quite important in what am I doing here? Sorry. Yes, keeping track of your results and selecting what contests work for you is quite important. This video has gone for way longer than I thought it was, so sorry about that. A bit slow to get my words out sometimes, but we'll work on that one as we go forward. Have a great New Year's Day. Good luck in whatever contests are coming up, and we will talk to you soon.